Hey everyone, so glad you could join us. Today we're going to be looking at flow states.
Yeah,
You know those times when you're just completely zoned in, time kind of melts away and you're just totally killing it?
totally.
Whether you're like writing code or playing music or even just having a super focused work session.
Right.
It feels pretty amazing, right?
It does.
And it's not just about performance either. It's
Yeah.
actually linked to feeling happier, more fulfilled too.
Yeah.
But what if we could actually make those flow states happen more often?
That is the question, isn't it? And thankfully, there's a ton of really cool research coming out on how we can actually influence these states.
Okay, so we're calling this episode Trending Tidbits instead of Deep Dive
Okay.
because we're going to be giving you guys a really quick but thorough rundown of some of the hottest info out there. We've got a stack of scientific research on flow, expert advice on things like nootropics, and even practical guides for enhancing brain function.
Nice.
So buckle up because we're about to unlock the secrets of flow.
I think what fascinates people is that it's not just some mystical experience. There's like real science behind it.
There is some serious science behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Mm.
I'd read this crazy thing that when you're in flow, your prefrontal cortex,
Mm.
the part of your brain that's responsible for overthinking and self-awareness,
Yeah.
it actually chills out.
It does.
It's like your inner critic just takes a vacation.
Takes a break.
That's a much better way to put it.
It's true. It's called transient hypofrontality.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And it's a key characteristic of flow. This quieting of the prefrontal cortex is also linked to that sense of time distortion that you experience.
Oh, wow.
Since you're so engrossed in the activity, your brain isn't really keeping track of time the way it normally does.
That explains why I can spend hours coding and it feels like minutes.
Totally.
But there's got to be more to it than just one part of the brain taking a break, right?
Absolutely. Think of it like a brain symphony with different networks taking the lead at different times. We've got three main players here. First up is the default mode network, or DMN. This network is active when you're daydreaming, reflecting, and basically thinking about yourself. During flow, the DMN takes a back seat, which is why you lose that self-consciousness and worry. You're not focused on you, you're totally immersed in the experience.
Okay, so less DMN, less inner critic.
Yeah.
Sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah,
But what's taken over if the DMN is chilling out?
that's where the Central Executive Network, or CEN, comes in. This network is all about focus, attention, and effort. When you're solving a complex problem, playing a challenging game, or creating something new, your CEN is in the driver's seat.
Okay, so we've got the DMN taking a nap and the CEN running the show. But who's making sure that everything runs smoothly?
Right.
There's got to be a conductor for this brain orchestra.
You got it. That's where the Salience Network, or SN, comes in. It's like the brain's air traffic controller, constantly monitoring what's important, filtering out distractions, and making sure your brain power is focused where it needs to be.
So if I'm trying to get into flow,
Yeah.
I need to basically help my SN do its job by minimizing distractions and setting clear goals.
Exactly. By being intentional about what you're doing and setting up the right environment, you can prime your Salience Network to keep you in the flow zone.
This is making so much sense. Now, I'm even more curious about how we can intentionally tap into these brain networks to make flow happen more often.
Well, that's where things get really interesting, because it's not just about the structure of the brain, it's also about the chemicals that are flowing through it.
You mean like neurotransmitters?
Yes. And when you're in flow, it's like a neurochemical party in your brain.
Okay, I am so ready to hear about this brain party.
Yeah.
What kind of chemical cocktails are we talking about here?
Well, first up, we have dopamine, the reward chemical. It makes the experience feel good and keeps you coming back for more.
So that's why being in flow is so addictive in a good way.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And then there's norepinephrine, which boosts your alertness and focus, especially in the early stages of flow. Think of it like the initial energy boost that helps you get going.
So it's like that first sip of coffee that gets you ready to tackle your to-do list.
Yeah.
But I know there's more to the party than just dopamine and norepinephrine, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've also got endorphins, which are those natural painkillers that make the experience feel effortless and even euphoric. They're the reason you can lose yourself in activity for hours and not even realize how much time has passed.
Okay.
And then there's anandamide, which is a neurotransmitter that works on your cannabinoid receptors.
Anandamide. It even sounds blissful.
It is. Anandamide plays a role in pleasure and motivation, adding to that feeling of flow bliss that a lot of people describe. And last but not least, we have serotonin, which is involved in mood regulation and memory consolidation. This is what gives you that after-flow glow and makes you want to experience it again.
Wow. It's like the neurochemical grand finale, making sure you remember how awesome that flow state felt. If
Yeah.
we want to hack our flow, We need to figure out how to get these neurochemicals pumping right.
That's a great way to put it. And that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our Trending Tidbits journey.
I can't wait. We'll be right back after a quick break to dive even deeper into the world of flow states. Stay tuned.
Awesome.
Okay, so we just had this amazing brain party crash course. Dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, and anandamide serotonin. All these chemicals making flow feel so good.
It's a good party.
Right, it is a good party.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get them flowing more often?
Right. Well, that's the exciting part. There are things that we can do. We don't have to just wait and hope for it to strike.
Okay, so what are the secrets? Spill the flow, hacking beans.
All right, so first of all, let's just remember that flow isn't just about popping a pill or listening to a certain type of music. It's a whole brain-body experience.
Right, like setting the stage for the flow party to happen.
Exactly. One of the key elements is what we call the skill-challenge balance. The activity needs to be engrossing enough to hold your attention, but not so difficult that it becomes overwhelming. It's kind of like finding that sweet spot. Not too easy, not too hard. Just the right amount of stretch to keep you reaching.
Okay, that makes sense. So for example, if I'm learning to code, I shouldn't start with building a complex app, right?
Probably not. Start with smaller projects that build your skills gradually. As you master those, you can take on more challenging tasks, always keeping that balance in mind.
Got it. So challenge myself, but don't overwhelm myself. What else is important for setting the stage?
Intrinsic motivation is huge. Flow is about being fully absorbed in something that you genuinely enjoy. It's that feeling of wanting to do something for the sheer joy of it, not because you have to.
So if I hate running, forcing myself to train for a marathon is probably not going to lead to a flow state no matter how much I try to hack it.
Exactly. Choose activities that light you up, things that you're naturally drawn to. That way you're working with your brain's natural reward system, not against it.
I'm loving these tips. But I'm also really curious about those nootropics we mentioned earlier. Can they really enhance the flow experience? And if so, which ones should we be paying attention to?
Nootropics are definitely having a moment, and there's a lot of interest in their potential for boosting cognitive function. But it's important to remember that they're not magic bullets. They're not going to instantly put you in flow, but they can potentially provide some extra support for your brain.
So think of them as like flow enhancers, not flow creators.
Exactly. Like adding a little something to that neurochemical cocktail we were talking about.
Yeah.
One that often comes up is L-theanine.
Ooh, I've heard of that one. It's found in green tea, right?
Right. L-theanine is known for its calming effects. It promotes relaxation without making you drowsy.
So it's like finding that chill, focused state without getting sleepy. That sounds perfect for flow.
It does, doesn't it?
Right.
And there's research to support that. Studies show that L-theanine can enhance alpha brainwave activity. And alpha waves are associated with that relaxed but alert state that we experience during flow.
So it's like giving your brain a gentle nudge toward those flow-inducing brainwaves. I love it. What else is on the nootropics menu?
Another interesting one is Bacopa monnieri, which is an herbal nootropic that's been used in traditional Ayurvedic medicine for centuries.
Bacopa monnieri.
Yeah.
Okay, that one's a mouthful. What does it do?
So research suggests that the Bacopa monnieri can support learning memory and even stress reduction. It seems to work by boosting certain neurotransmitters in the brain, like serotonin and GABA, which are both involved in mood regulation and relaxation.
So it's kind of like a multitasking nootropic helping with focus, memory, and stress. All those things that can really get in the way of flow.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about the importance of finding that sweet spot between skill and challenge to enter flow? Well, Bacopa monnieri might actually help with that too, by boosting your cognitive flexibility and your ability to adapt to new challenges.
Okay, I'm adding that to my list.
Yeah.
But how do people actually use these nootropics? Is it about taking them before a specific activity or more about long-term brain support?
It can be both. Some people take nootropics like L-theanine or Bacopa monnieri as part of their daily routine for overall cognitive well-being, which might make it easier to enter flow states.
So it's like priming your brain for flow, making it more receptive to those flow-inducing states.
Exactly. But you can also use certain nootropics more strategically before an activity.
Oh, interesting. So say I'm about to have a really intense brainstorm session at work. What kind of nootropic might be helpful in that situation?
In that case, you might consider something like N-acetyl L-tyrosine or NALT for short.
NALT. Okay, another one for the nootropics glossary. What's the deal with NALT?
So NALT is a precursor to dopamine and norepinephrine, Remember those key neurochemicals we talked about that are involved in motivation, focus, and alertness?
Right. They were part of the neurochemical party crew.
Exactly. So taking Nulty is like giving your brain the building blocks it needs to create those flow-enhancing neurochemicals. And research suggests that Nulty may be especially helpful when your brain is under stress or facing high cognitive demands, like when you're trying to focus on a challenging task.
So if I'm feeling a little brain fried or overwhelmed, Nulty might help me get back in the groove.
It's definitely worth exploring, and it might even help you power through those initial stages of flow when you're still battling distractions and trying to find your focus.
This is all super helpful. But are there other ways to support flow that don't involve supplements? What about lifestyle factors?
Absolutely. In fact, setting the stage for flow goes way beyond just popping a pill. We've already talked about the importance of choosing the right activities and finding that skill challenge sweet spot, but creating the right environment is crucial too.
So like creating a little flow sanctuary is a space where my brain can really get into the zone without distractions.
Exactly. Find a quiet space to work, minimize distractions like your phone or email, and set aside dedicated time for your flow-inducing activity.
Makes sense. It's like creating a sacred space for your brain to do its best work.
And don't underestimate the power of physical well-being. Getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, and exercising regularly can all have a really positive impact on your cognitive function and your ability to enter flow.
Right. A tired, sluggish brain is probably not going to be in prime flow mode.
Hmm.
What about things like meditation or mindfulness? Do those practices help with flow at all?
Those are great points. In fact, mindfulness practices are kind of like flow training for your brain. They help you strengthen your attention muscle and become more aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. And that kind of mental clarity and focus can be incredibly helpful for getting into flow.
So it's like practice and flow on a micro level.
Exactly. It's about building those mental habits that make it easier to slip into that state of deep focus and absorption.
This is all so fascinating. I feel like I'm getting a whole new understanding of how my brain works.
Me too. And there's still so much to learn. But even with what we know now, there are so many things that you can experiment with to boost your flow.
Wow, we covered some serious ground in this Trending Tidbits episode. It's amazing to think that something as elusive as flow can actually be understood and influenced through brain science, nootropics, and mindful practices.
It really is remarkable what we're learning about the human brain and its potential. And the more we learn about flow states, the more we realize that they're not just for artists or athletes. They're accessible to anyone who wants to tap into their full potential.
Exactly. And it's about finding what works for you.
Mm.
Like you said earlier, there's no magic bullet. It's about experimenting and finding the tools and techniques that resonate with your unique brain and body.
I think that's a really crucial point. Flow is a personal journey. What works for one person might not work for another. It's about paying attention to your own experience, being curious, and having fun with the process.
Yeah, and it's about remembering that flow isn't just about achieving peak performance. It's also about finding those moments of deep joy, creativity, and connection with whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Flow is ultimately about living a more engaged and fulfilling life.
I love that. So as we wrap up this Trending Tidbits episode, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge. What activity will you choose to explore your own flow state today? Will you try some of the nootropics we discussed? Or maybe create a flow sanctuary in your home or office?
Yeah, and remember, pay attention to what your mind and body are telling you. What activities make you lose track of time? What environments help you focus and feel energized? The answers are all within you.
That's such great advice. Thanks for joining me on this amazing journey into the world of flow states. It's been a true pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep those brains flowing.